Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. I've got a juicy reading for you guys tonight. This is going to be on the topic of romance, because love is in the air. Valentine's Day is fast approaching, or whenever you're watching this, this will still apply to you. And I feel like there is someone who is coming out for you in a romantic sense. And, ooh, okay, we have the Nine of Pentacles here. So I feel like you're in this just like sitting pretty attitude right now, where it's almost like you have built yourself up in this way where you're really stable and secure. And this is on a material sense and in like a spiritual and psychological, emotional sense as well, where you're just like ready for that romance to sweep you off your feet essentially. Because of the fact that you are so stable and confident, it's almost like it draws in suitors so much more. And it's like people can look at you and tell like, okay, this is someone who's just in their prime and is ready for love. All right, okay, this card came out. What do we have here? Ooh, okay, we have the Four of Pentacles here. And I feel like this is the energy of someone who is so maybe this is your suitor, where you're the Nine of Pentacles here in her pretty little garden with her bird. And you've got him. He's also sitting pretty in a sense. He's in this very contrived posture where he's holding a pentacle over his heart. Ooh, so I feel like there's someone coming in for you, but they might be a little bit guarded. But at the same time, I feel like there's someone who maybe is also like stable in a sense. Like they're very grounded and they are also probably very emotionally, mentally, and financially secure. So I feel like there's this really strong feeling of prosperity coming together, and building something together as well is like what is going to be crucial in this relationship. It might not necessarily be something like building a business, but it could be something like building a home together, or building a family, or just building that really strong emotional bond between the two of you. All right, let's figure out a little bit more about the suitor. I feel like this is very juicy. Like, who is this person to you? Ooh, the moon. Ooh, and we have two dogs here. Wolves, perhaps, howling at the moon together. And there's a little freaky ass lobster coming out of the water. It's so scary. And then we have the two poles as well. So I feel like this is someone who is maybe your counterpart in a way, where there's almost this feeling of kinship, where it's like the two dogs are of the same species, but they're also different colors. So in the sense, it's almost like you're the same, but you're also different, right? I know it doesn't make that much sense, but it's like, yeah, there's this recognition where you and this person have a lot in common in some ways, but then you're like polar opposites in other ways. And through this interesting interplay of the dynamic, it brings you even closer together. So you're able to recognize each other's differences, but coming from the same stable perspective that you both share. And like I mentioned, yeah, with a sense of stability, and then we have the two rock pillars in the background, it is like this really stable and abundant relationship for you. And maybe it could involve something, spending time together at night, looking at the moon together. I feel like maybe this person could be a little bit of a night owl if you are as well, or maybe you just go on some sort of romantic evening excursion. And I feel like, honestly, howling at the moon together is a wonderful bonding exercise for couples, so I would highly recommend this. All right, but like, who is this person? Where are they coming from? Ooh, the Knight of Wands. Okay, look, this horse is reared up. So this person is kind of charging in a sense, but at the same time, there is almost this level of maybe immaturity almost, or like tentativeness, where it's like, in a sense, they are moving forward, but then like something has caused the horse to rear up, and maybe they're kind of holding the reins in a sense. So I think this is someone who has been observing you for a long time, but they have some sort of feeling of caution in approaching you. So this could be someone that you are acquainted with, like maybe mutual friends, or someone in the workplace, or just someone that you see on a regular basis. Or it could be someone who is kind of watching you from the shadows, almost like this observer type, where like they have their eyes on the prize and they are moving towards you, but it's just like they're not quite ready to take that next jump yet. And I feel like this person expressing a degree of caution is actually a good sign, because it means that they are kind of holding back a little bit, right? Like if they just charged in without gathering too much information, this could almost be a little bit worrisome. And like I mentioned with this feeling of stability, I feel like maybe they're assessing you in this way to see if this will be a stable connection. So I feel like if you're someone who is maybe getting a little impatient in love, to not be too discouraged by this, and to actually see it as a good sign that things are taking time. All right, the Ace of Swords. Ooh, okay, I feel like this is a very romantic card. It has this feeling of like, yeah, like there's a crown here, and it's this very regal sense, this very noble sort of feeling. So I feel like this person maybe has like really high standards, or they have this kind of noble sense when it comes to romance, where this could be what's holding them up. Is almost like they want to do things right in a sense. But I also feel like there's this really strong like masculine energy coming from this other person. So I feel like if you're watching this, and I mean, like, honestly, the roles could be switched. So if you're this person who feels like you've been sitting pretty and you've just kind of been waiting and you're like, when is something gonna happen? I feel like the instruction you're getting is to like keep waiting. Like, don't go out and chase things because that's just not your role in a way. Where, like, with this other person, it is their role to do the chasing. So if you identify more with this other person where you're like, okay, I'm kind of hesitant about something, I don't know if I should charge in, I feel like then this is giving you more of the impulse to go ahead and hop to it. But I feel like either way, like there is some things that you both have in common. All right, we got the King of Pentacles here, and this is this feeling of maybe like bringing together the two of you. So what happens when you unite is you kind of get into this King of Pentacles energy of just like pure abundance where things seem to just flow for you in a way. So I feel like when you get close to this person, it's almost like things start to fall into place. So I feel like when it comes to romance, it's almost like a new seed is being born between the two of you, where in a sense, your love is almost its own entity, and as you pour into it, it's growing and building something, and it can actually accomplish things on its own. So, if you think of things of like a demon, or like a spirit, or maybe like a god, like if you have a specific god of like love that you pray to, or something, like you can kind of understand, like, okay, this entity is achieving things on its own and pouring out its will into the world. Like you could say, like a demon possessed me to do this, or the demon has been moving around things in my bedroom while I sleep. These are purely examples. I'm not saying this has happened to me. But in a sense, your love is like this as well. Like it's almost like a golem that you have animated together, and it can accomplish things in the world on its own without like necessarily either of you taking a conscious action to do anything. It's almost like the love is taking actions or like bringing things towards you. That's an interesting message. Okay, and we got the High Priestess here. So I feel like, again, like it is this bringing together of opposites. Like we have the black and white column here. And I feel like this is more identifying with your energy, where you're more in this High Priestess sort of, yeah, like sitting very regally and having this sort of wisdom and understanding, like again with this like lunar principle, and we got the moon out as well, where I feel like yeah, there is this feeling of like tides. The tides are turning, is what I'm getting. Is like maybe if you feel like things have been going a certain way in your love life so far, I feel like the tide is about to turn and it's gonna kind of open you up to a new way of seeing things. And I think specifically the reason why things might have felt stagnant in the past was simply because this level of love hadn't entered your life yet. So I feel like I'm getting the sense that this new connection is going to be something that you have never imagined before. Like your mind couldn't possibly grasp what it would be like because you hadn't experienced it yet. And I'm also getting the sense of there's kind of like something a little bit mysterious about it, and specifically in your energy. Almost like you have this kind of magical pull, like the moon pulls the tides, almost, where like you're kind of casting a spell in some ways on this other person, and maybe not even intentionally. But I think that's kind of why this person feels drawn to you, is your like calm steadiness, and maybe you have a little bit of a mystical demeanor that could be quite alluring as well. Okay, let's pull another card on like what makes you appealing to this person. I feel like that's really interesting. Ooh, the Knight of Cups. Okay, so I feel like in some ways you're almost like an empty vessel, but like not in a bad way. I know that sometimes people associate this feeling of emptiness with like bad, but it's almost more like you can receive certain things and then transform them into a better version of that thing. So it's almost like you receive this other person's ideas or other ideas in the world, and through this kind of mystical power that you possess, you almost transform it into something that could be like a better version of it, or maybe you have this really strong ability to execute plans, where I would say it's almost a strategic sense. Like when you think of like a general who might even consult someone else, or like something like a spiritual advisor kind of thing is the sense that I'm getting, where like this person might give you something, or they if they're not someone who you're talking to currently, it could be like they're just observing you take things from the world and then like transform it into a better version. So I feel like this is what really makes you appealing, is like you have this ability to just transmute different energies. All right, another card on this topic, please. Okay, we have the Seven of Pentacles here. Oh, a lot of pentacles. So I feel like this is really like, it's telling you that this connection is going to be very prosperous for you both, both financially, of course, and materially, but also like on an emotional sense. And I feel like with this card, this person is just staring at the grapevine, waiting for the grapes to grow. Where are my grapes at? Like, it's just not the season for the grapes yet. You just have to wait. You just have to walk away from it and do something else, and the grapes will grow. So like I said, it's like this feeling of like, yeah, just sitting pretty, do your thing. Like, you can't really rush these things. Like a fruit that takes time to grow, or like a flower that needs to blossom. Love is something that needs to be built up over time. It's not something that happens instantaneously. It's almost like maybe you have already planted the seed, especially if this is someone you already have in mind. I feel like the seed has been planted and now it's like growing to that state of fruition. And I feel like if it's someone you don't quite know, like in a sense, maybe the fields have been tilled, but the seed hasn't quite been planted, where like you have this really strong sense of preparation for love. And I feel like this is definitely an essential part. And like I mentioned, how your love can almost be like an external entity. Specifically, if you want it to reach that level of power, you need to really have a sense of preparation beforehand, right? Like, the fields have been tilled and fertilized, and you're tending them well, and you're pulling out the weeds. So I feel like it's a sense of upkeep and preparation is kind of the state that you're both in right now. And I feel like this is really what is going to cause this relationship to be so prosperous. All right, let's draw a card on how things are going to be when you guys finally meet. Ooh, okay, we have the Seven of Cups here. So this is kind of this feeling of like choices, but also like a false sense of choice in a way, where it's almost like these different sins or like life paths maybe that you're considering. So I feel like when you meet this person, it's almost going to be like all of that falls away, where there's no longer these different life paths of like different vices that you could go down and like having to choose the better of certain evils. It's almost more like your path immediately becomes clear to you, and you understand that there is only one choice, and it's this feeling of virtue and building virtue through love. And I feel like it's almost gonna, yeah, it's gonna bring a new clarity to you, where like previously things that had seemed like pathways, you're starting to realize that those were only illusions, and now the one singular path is becoming clear to you. All right, and let's see, maybe a little bit on other things you could do to prepare in this time. Ooh, okay, the Five of Wands. Okay, so I feel like it's this feeling of maybe battling different impulses in a way, where maybe if you had been trying to construct something in love, you might have kind of been throwing everything at the wall to see if it sticks. And to speak in plainer terms, it might have felt like you were maybe trying to look for a variety of suitors in a way, trying to assess different options. And this feeling of like maybe pitting people against each other, and not necessarily so much in this like literal sense of like, I want you to fight over me, but maybe more in the sense of like, who is a better option between these two people? And I feel like that this is something that the cards are telling you to stop doing, because it's like, it's almost like this, again, like an illusion of choice almost. Like I mentioned, when it comes to your true love, it is this feeling of like patience and waiting almost, and like building yourself up so that you can become the versions of yourselves who are able to fall in love with each other. And it's almost like you're wasting time or shooting yourself in the foot, so to speak, by contemplating love in this other sense, where like if you're going out and trying to chase suitors or chase love options like that, like I think this is just not the right way to approach it. I feel like it is really something of like, someone will come to you and it'll be like they're the one. Like it is this like the glowing figure in that central cup there. It is this feeling of like, as soon as you see this person, it's like you'll know. Or like once the ball starts to get rolling on it, maybe. Because maybe you haven't truly seen this person yet. If they are someone you already know and they're more like on an acquaintance level, or there's someone who's kind of watching you and you haven't like seen them, it's like you don't really know them yet. But I think once that level of like soul recognition comes through, then you're immediately gonna know like, okay, this person is the one. And let's see, like what is something you can do to make yourself maybe more available to this person? Ooh, the Queen of Pentacles. What the heck? We're getting the whole suit coming out here. Okay, so it is this feeling of, like, again, like, it is just, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do, just sit there and wait. Like, it's this feeling of, like, nature's cycles continue, and just as humans have imagination, so too does nature have an imagination. And in the sense, it almost feels like your love story is something that has been imagined by nature. If you think of it as, like, the world is God's dream in a way, and your love story is also God's dream. So it's almost like it's not necessarily something that you can create from this ego perspective. It's almost like it's something that has been written for you, and you need to just allow it to unfold in due time. And I think there's also this feeling of, like, being within a garden. Like, when you're in this state of abundance within yourself, of really feeling secure and steady, this is what brings in the more abundance to you. And this feeling of you're more open to love when you're in this really stable, abundant sense. Like, if you've ever noticed those people who are just so hard on themselves, always criticizing, those people are obviously the least appealing in love. But when someone is really confident in themselves of, like, maybe I haven't had the best luck in love yet, but I'm a very suitable option, and, like, I'm very confident in myself, and I have everything I need in the world. I want for nothing. That is when you become the most attractive option in this world. But I do get the sense that you're just kind of a naturally magnetic and attractive person, so this isn't something you have to worry about anyway. But it is really, like, cautioning you to, like, not put out those icky signals of just wallowing in self-pity, because that's the one thing you can do to shoot yourself in the foot in this love situation. All right, so let's draw one final card to close out this reading, and this is going to be what this person is thinking about you right now. This is going to be the juiciest part of the reading, of course. Ooh, okay, we have the 9 of Wands right here, and this person is injured. Okay, and almost, like, looking over their shoulder. So I get the sense that what this person is feeling is almost like almost a weird sense of bitterness or injury towards you, because I think that this person wants you so bad, but the fact that they can't have you is causing them pain. So it's almost this feeling of, like, preparing for battle as well, where, like, they've been injured in this time period where they've been thirsting for you, and now I feel like they're understanding that there's an even bigger battle to prepare for, so they need to patch up their wounds and get ready to fight. So I feel like this person really has you on their mind in a sense, where, like, maybe they're kind of, like, looking over their shoulder to be like, if they thought that they spotted you in public, or maybe someone who looked like you, or maybe they're kind of, like, looking around them all the time and just being reminded of you all the time. So I feel like you're really, like, almost at the forefront of this person's mind, even if it's something they kind of try to hide or bandage up. It's almost like they can't get rid of you. And it's, yeah, like, it's kind of turning into an obsession, this sort of, like, boiling point feeling where, like, the kindling is building up, and a lot has been stacked in the hearth. And once that fire gets going, it's going to burn the whole night long. All right, well, I hope this reading gave you a little bit of motivation and some reassurance that love is out there for you. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.